Hello and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark. I'm your host, Raider. And in this video, I was going over my emails, uh, the extensive amount of emails that I'm trying to catch up on. And Tim in DC sent me an email that is actually kind of an interesting thing. So Tim's situation is, and I'll be discreet about this, they had filed a claim historically and they were granted something. And what had happened was is that the raider had forgotten historically to grant the SMC that is should be attributed to the condition. And then they were kind of asking me about the best way to go about it. And they were thinking that the best way to go about it is to maybe do a clear and unmistakable error. Okay. And, they went through the kind of, were telling me the process that they were going through, but I kind of wanted to share my thoughts on how to remedy this. Now, it's not a bad idea to potentially do a clear and unmistakable error to fix something that was missed in a historical granting. At least you might think that. My alternative theory is that if you were to do an increase exam on the primary condition to which the the SMC is awarded for, and let's say even if it's like maximum 10% or 0% or whatever it is for the for the primary condition, it's even at maximum. By doing an increase claim on that primary condition, you force the rater to take the action that should have been done originally. But because it was a missed issue, right? And there's this terminology internally called missed issues, right? I mean, it's pretty simple, straightforward. If we come across a missed issue that should have been historically granted, we can historically grant it, going all the way back in time, because you didn't claim the SMC. So this is key now. Like I can't hold on, let me go to my banners here. This is very important. As long as you just claim the primary condition and you don't talk about the SMC that you really want to get, and that's what you want to get. If you claim an increase for the primary condition, it forces us to raise the SMC to issue and historically grant it under the CUNE rules, but you make the rater have to do the CUNE. That way you don't have to do the CUNE. Because keep in mind, guys, like I need you to really hear me, and this is why the very important is up here. Let's say you're not the best writer on the planet. If you mess up your CUNE, then they can't touch it again. You get one chance at a CUNE. So this is a backdoor trick to get the rater to raise the issue of the SMC to CUNE. So that way you don't have to go and prove all that crap, right? Like you have to, there's a three-prong rule for CUNEs that you have to show that there would have been a different outcome and things like that. You don't need to do that. You can just do an increase on the primary condition, even if it's at 0% maximum, that's the max it can get. You do it. You submit a VA form 21-4138 and you explain the fact that historically within the rating decision dated, back in 2006 or whatever, that the condition that you are doing the increase on should have had SMC also attributed to it, and you would like them to resolve this missed issue. And you say the words missed issue. And then that way it forces the rater. Because guess what? If the rater doesn't address the SMC, they get an error. Hell, Post will call them on an error and defer it back to them to correct it, to do the SMC. If they do the date, the effective date wrong, Post will send it back to them and say, "Hey, look, this should go back in time all the way back to 2006 or whenever it happened." I'm just using fanciful dates here because I don't want to. I'm trying to keep all Tim and DC stuff out of it. But this is important because we're talking about cutting through the red tape, guys. We're talking about ways in which you can circumvent this is an insider tip. So I think I'll probably name the video insider tip. But yeah, if you have a situation where they miss something, hey, look, I should have, like, I claimed 10 things, you only talked about 9 things, and you didn't attribute that 10th thing to anything else. That's a missed issue. You can do like an increase on it. And and the reason, and I'm going to circle back to this, but the reason why I say this is because you're trying to figure out ways to get the action taken without getting shut down for bureaucratic nonsense. Okay. Regardless of quality burn, I'm just saying, like, hey, look, you didn't make the best argument in the world for your CUNE. You didn't satisfy one of the points. I can't look at it. Claim is closed. That's the way the process works with a CUNE. So if you can, now this only applies to missed issues. Okay. So if you have a missed issue, you need to do the increase for the like, if it's a missed issue, do an increase on it. Do, and but mention in a subsequent statement that you submit with the claim itself, you know, hey, look, this was historically you know, claimed on this date at this time. Take them there. You got to do that much effort. You can't just say it was historically claimed, because you could get somebody that's lazy that just doesn't, they're more focused on points and they're just trying to hurry up and they don't want to read. And I hate to say that, but sometimes it happens. But and then there was another individual that I was responding to the emails on, in which they said, "Hey, look, I had a claim that I submitted the claim this specific way, and they failed to do, they failed to notice that it was historically claimed, and they just closed my claim." Well, this would be another time where that was a missed claim. The term missed is going to be what's important here. I would file the exact same claim and that I filed historically that was cleared or closed. I would file it again and say, "Hey, look, I've filed this valid claim on this date at this time. I filed the exact same claim, on a new form, but this was a missed claim." Anytime that you have like a missed claim or missed issue, those are taken out of time. So 38 CFR 3.3400 400 and 38 CFR 3.2501, the two those CFRs, the first one, the 3.400, that's for new and original claims, like the effective dates, right? Like it says, hey, look, you can go back a year prior to, for increases, you can go back a year prior to the date of claim or the intent to file and, get that earlier effective date. And for the 3.2501, that's the effective date rule for supplemental claims. But if you claim it as a missed issue and you have the rater themselves raise it to issue under a clear and unmistakable error, then the effective date rules go out the window, because a clear and unmistakable error can break those rules to right a wrong that was done. So this is just kind of a little more of a tip slash trick to kind of cut through the bureaucratic red tape and nonsense, so that way you guys can make the rater have to do the clear and unmistakable error and you don't have to. Okay, because they're not going to want to get an error. So and post won't let them, right? Like post reads this stuff, like the authorizer reads this and goes, wait a minute, you missed something here, because the authorizer doesn't want an error either. So this is you actually using the quality review system to your advantage to make them more paranoid of getting an error and doing the right thing than, them shutting you down because you forgot to dot an I or cross a T in your CUNE review. So anyway, and I'll be honest with you, the missed issue, I tried looking it up in the manual, and it's just an internal process that we have that isn't actually regulated by the M21. But it's like, if you look at behavioralism and you look at, like, you have to account for everything. So in historically back in 2006, VBMS, they were doing paper stuff back then, right? So they're missing the issue is different than them missing the issue today. Because if you file a claim for something or get an increase on something that has an SMC requirement that's not already there, the VBMS system will automatically invoke it. It will raise it to issue, and it won't let you finalize the rating until you address it. In most cases, there are some exceptions where the computer's not very smart. But in the situations that we talked about, at least for the SMC portion of it, those should be brought to issue. And then come to find out, what do we do with that effective date? And it causes them to have to pull the CUNE. Now, you're probably going to have a little bit of an upset rater, but they have to do it. It's something that they can't bypass. So, and when they do something like a CUNE, whenever the rater raises that to issue, they have to have like there's multiple eyes that are going to be looking at your claim at that moment, and it has one of the highest likelihoods of success because, and this happens even whenever you raise a clear and unmistakable error or the rater does, but when the rater does it, they're more inclined to write it up better than you would. I don't know if that makes sense. Just because their quality review team member, they have to submit it, a DRA review. This, I don't know what the heck it means, but it's basically where they say, hey, look, before this gets finalized, I need a second signature from a quality review person to review it and make sure. And quality review people, they don't like to be wrong. So they like to go through it, and there's a lot of email chatter back and forth. But anyway, I know I've rambled about this, but these are just things, a little bit of a shorter video today. But this is just something I think is not known to the overall veteran community that you guys can actually use, and you can use to your advantage, because it's just kind of a tip or trick. Now, I will say that we thank you all for subscribing and whatnot. We are just 40 away at this point in time from the 4K subscriber count, and I am blown away. So I'd like to thank all of the members, the raters, and the VSRs. Your guys' support is, the chair should be here in a week or so. But other than that, the new computer is actually getting closer to being a reality too. So that way it doesn't like look like a toaster oven getting hot every time I turn this on with all this recording software. But we're doing the best we can. I'm doing the live stream on Saturday. Once again, it's going to be kind of a TED Talky type thing in the first part, and then second part is just open Q&A, so you guys can. I'm going to ask you all to hold all of your Q&A questions until the Q&A portion, because if I'm focusing on my kind of TED Talky type thing, I'm not going to be reading the chat, and I want to get you guys to where I can hopefully answer as many questions as I humanly can. But yeah, that's about all I got for you right now. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And if you can, share the videos. If these are meaningful to you, if they make sense to you, if you find value in them, please share them. Just because we're a small channel currently, but let's grow. Let's grow together. So anyway, that's about all I got for you today. Raider out.